So with the First Descendant just 3 days away, a lot of you guys have asked me, yo Skillz, what is the best Descendant to start off with? The game does launch on July 2nd, so the best time to do this video is right now. In the First Descendants, when you first start, you have the choice of 3 Descendants. Number 1 being VIESSA. She is the ice goddess and will freeze her enemies in place. You have AJAX, who is the powerhouse tank of the Descendants. And then you have LEPIC, who is the demolitionist expert. So let's break down each Descendant and see which one is best for you. Now, the first Descendant we're gonna be talking about is VIESSA, and she is known as the Frost Queen. All 4 of her skills and passive skills are based on ice damage. So let's get into those. And her first active skill is Frost Shards, which is actually pretty cool. It fires Frost Shards to deal damage to hit enemies and area effect damage to nearby enemies. It does inflict ice shackles on hit to each target. To me, it was one of the least effective. It does do a significant amount of damage, but overall her other skills were a lot better. Her second skill is actually one of my favorite. It's called Frost Road. When you cast, it grants Frost Road state for a certain period of time. Frost Road increases the self's movement speed and energy shield and creates ice sheets where her feet touch the ground, inflicts ice shackles on enemies that come into contact with the ice sheets. And that makes them literally frozen in place, as you guys are seeing in this gameplay. Her third skill, Cold Snap, you're definitely gonna wanna try. It inflicts damage and ice shackles to enemies that come into contact with the chill. Now, her final skill is definitely one that you guys are going to love. It's called Blizzard. It creates a blizzard that remains active for a certain period of time. Enemies engulfed in the blizzard receive continuous damage becoming inflicted with ice, and their defense decreases. When the blizzard disappears, it inflicts area of damage and ice shackles on nearby enemies. And when you pull this one off with a bunch of enemies pushing you, it's so fun to watch and it's so effective. Definitely one I think you guys are gonna enjoy. So just like every Descendant, VIESSA has a passive skill, and this one is Ice Spear, and it goes with all of her skills, right? Upon using a skill to have an enemy enter a certain ice shackle stage, creates Ice Spear that flies around nearby. The Ice Spear that is created flies at nearby enemies, deals damage to hit enemies, and deals area effect damage to nearby enemies. Target is inflicted with the Ice Shackle. Ice Shackle decreases the enemy's speed, and the Ice Shackle stage increases when effect stacks. When the stage increases, the speed reduction and durations both increase. And they actually provide a chart right there that shows you stage 1 to 4 of each to kind of give you how long the duration is and how long the effect is. So it's kind of cool. Once you guys dive deeper into this, once you guys get in game, you'll definitely see the big differences of the passive skills. And now that we know more about VIESSA, let's get into our next Descendant, AJAX, who is known as the tank of the Descendants in the First Descendant. And let's get into his skills now. His first active skill is called Orbit Barrier. And what this does is it creates a barrier to the front of you. Now the barrier stats are based on AJAX HP and defense. When void energy is at a maximum, it enhances the barrier. When hit by an enemy, the enhanced barrier deals reflective damage proportion to the damage received, and AJAX defense to the attacking enemy. Now acquires void energy after creating a barrier. Now I will say this skill was very useful, especially when you had multiple enemies shooting you from the front. It protected you from the incoming fire and then allowed you to kill them before they had a chance of killing you. So this was definitely one of the skills that I tend to use a lot when playing with AJAX. The next skill we'll talk about is the Void Walk, which kind of reminded me of a Hulk smash. Jumping forward, then deals damage on landing. Now it inflicts stun. When using a skill while void energy is at maximum, it enhances the Void Walk. When using an enhanced Void Walk, it increases the max shield. When the skill ends, acquires void energy. Now I felt when this actually worked the best is when I actually paired it up with another skill called Expulsion, and you're gonna see it right here in action. And let's talk about that skill now. So what Expulsion does is it inflicts damage and a knockback on enemies within range. When void energy is at maximum, it enhances the expulsion. And when enhanced, it increases base damage in range. Now, when I found this skill useful is when you had a lot of enemies pushing you in a group, you could take out some of them and then finish them off with your weapon afterwards. It was definitely a really cool skill to use, and when chained with other skills, it was amazing. Now, this fourth skill was probably my favorite. It's called the Hypercube. Something we might see from Destiny on the Titan. Now look at this, it creates a drone-shaped barrier, and the barrier's stats are based on AJAX, HP, and defense. When void energy is at maximum, it enhances the barrier. The enhanced barrier grants barrier enhancement to all allies within the range of including itself. increases fire attack. So when you're inside of it, you're just going to be more powerful. I will tell you, I found this one probably the most useful of all of them. Now, they all have their own benefits. Some are more defensive, some are more offensive. But the barriers themselves are going to make this great for playing in group play. You'll probably always want to have a guy like AJAX on your team, just for the mere fact that he could create this globe, protect you, so that way you guys can recuperate if you guys have already taken a lot of damage. Now, with each Descendant, they do have a passive skill, and the passive skill typically enhances either your skills or enhances your abilities. Now, AJAX has a skill called Event Horizon, and that's his passive skill. So it says when using a skill acquires void energy, depending on the amount of void energy possessed, gains singularity based on stage. Now, singularity decrease cooldown, and the effect is boosted based on the stage. And when void energy is at a maximum, it enhances the skill and grants additional effects. So the passive skill is granting skill cooldown, additional effects on your skills, and different Descendants have different passive skills. So something you should pay attention to depending on your playstyle. Now that we know about AJAX, let's take a look at LEPIC. That's known to be a demolitionist expert. Well, LEPIC is your guy. This dude loves to blow up his enemy and leave nothing remaining. His first skill is Grenade. He throws a grenade for inflicting skill attack times 123% explosive damage to enemies within a 6-meter radius. And just like you read, yes, he throws grenades at the enemy, exploding them. Now, his second skill is called Overclock. Gains Overclock for a certain period of time. Overclock increases skill power modifier and inflicts burn on enemies damaged by grenade or overkill. Burn deals continuous damage for a certain period of time. Now, I'll tell you when I noticed it worked the best is when I used it with Overkill. Rocking Overclock and then using my Overkill skill just made it that more effective. Now, his third skill is Traction Grenade. Throws the Traction Grenade forward to pull enemies within 9-meter radius for 2 seconds. And I tell you, if you pair this right with other skills, it was very effective and probably one of my funner skills to pull off. Now, his fourth skill is Overkill. It switches the equipped weapon to Overkill. While Overkill is active, MP is continuously consumed. When MP runs out, it returns to original weapon. Enemies hit by Overkill bullets receive area effect damage. Overkill bullets create an area effect where they hit and deal continuous damage. Now, I'll tell you, this is where I'm talking about. He showcases his demolitionist power with just blowing up stuff. You just see the orbs, boom, boom. I'm loving this one right here. I think a lot of you guys will too. Now, his passive skill is called Close Call. Upon receiving fatal damage, he gains Close Call. While Close Call is active, you become immune to damage and crowd control effects for a certain period of time. When Close Call ends, recovers HP proportional to the self's max HP. The effect is not affected by incoming recovery or outgoing recovery. Now, after playing all 3 Descents, I will say there is no wrong choice on whichever Descendant you decide to go with. Each one is special in their own way. VIESSA controlling the battlefield with her ice damage, AJAX using his defensive skills to control the battle, and then LEPIC, the demolitionist expert who likes to blow up anything he sees. So let me know which Descendant you're going to be playing with on July 2nd. I'll see you guys on the battlefield, and Nothing But Skills is out.